Good evening. Today is Thursday, May 28th, 2026. I'd like to call this meeting of the Auburn City Council to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Diego.
Here.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson.
Here.
Councilor Cuddy.
Here.
Councilor Calarco.
Here.
Mayor Gentile.
Here, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. I ask that this evening you keep in your thoughts the family of Mimi Hoffman, former senior planner here in the city of Auburn. She passed away this week. Thank you. Please be seated. Public announcements.
Thanks, Mayor. A couple of announcements tonight. The next meeting of the City of Auburn Planning Board will be held on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. That meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. here at City Hall and Council Chambers, 24 South Street. And I just wanted to give a quick reminder to everybody that Saturday, May 30th is Tennis Day in Auburn, and there will be tennis activities happening at the Clifford Park over on Steel Street side where the tennis courts are from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. noon this Saturday, May 30th, 2026. Anybody that wants to learn how to play tennis or even advanced players are welcome, and join in on the fun on Saturday at Clifford Park.
Very good. We do have two public hearings this evening on local law number 1 of 2026 and for the fiscal year 2026-2027 city budget. I'd like to start, though, with our regular public to be heard. If you could please read the rules, Mr. Clerk.
At this point in time, we will open the public to be heard portion of the council meeting. Residents are asked to state their name and address for the record. Please keep remarks to 3 minutes or less, and please observe commonly accepted rules of courtesy and decorum.
Thank you. Is there anybody wishing to be heard on general city matters at this time? Mr. Udall?
James Udall, 106 Osborne Street. Transparency in government is very, very important. It is accountability for our elected leaders and our city government. FOIL requests, which stands for Freedom of Information Law requests, are vital to keeping our government honest and our elected officials accountable. February 24th, there was a FOIL request related to financial matters of the city pertaining to the budget situation that's been happening. This was submitted and acknowledged by our city clerk on the 24th of February. It's almost 90 days. There's no information as to why this has not been fulfilled, except that our city clerk may be just capricious in the way that he fulfills FOIL requests. I know that the flock camera people, if you're in here, you filed a FOIL request after mine, but yet yours leapfrogged mine. And you've already been satisfied and you've already been given the information. Our city clerk decides who and how and why the information is distributed among the citizens. I'm not saying that this is the most earth-shattering thing in the world or the biggest problem that the city of Auburn faces, but it is systemic to the reason why many people, many citizens, many people in this room don't trust the city government. They don't have faith that there is accountability and transparency. As a result, everybody's gotten a flyer. I've started a petition asking for the resignation of our city clerk because he cannot fulfill his main duty. I believe that FOIL requests are the main duty of the city clerk, not just sending out birth certificates and making announcements and all the feel-good stuff. That's easy to do. I could do that. But FOIL requests are at the heart of our democracy, and if they're not going to be fulfilled, then reasons need to be given, and they need to be legal reasons. If there are fast approaching 200 signatures on this petition, it's available online. I have a Facebook group called Citizens for Common Sense, and you can find the link to the electronic petition. But there's no excuse and there's no reason why
30
basic
seconds.
FOIL requests cannot be fulfilled in a timely way, in a professional way. And maybe because of the budget situation, the city clerk might decide to take a retirement, an early retirement, and save the city some money and start restoring trust in our city government. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard? Is there anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes, sir, the hat.
Hello, Jason Teeter, 30 South Lewis Street. I've lived in Auburn my entire life. I served 14 years here in Auburn in the Army National Guard with the 102nd Military Police Headquarters. My last several years as a platoon sergeant. I'm here today to talk about the flock cameras, and not just flock, but any advanced AI surveillance tool that may be suggested to replace flock. I think the police are well-intentioned with the purchase of these cameras, and it's been well established that they're not simple license plate readers. It's an advanced AI surveillance tool, and while I'm sure the user interface that the police department uses is very simple, as a power control systems engineer, I can say that user interfaces rarely show more than 1% of what's going on in the background. I have no doubt that these cameras are very helpful to the police, but it's overkill. It's like fishing with dynamite. Yeah, it's helpful, you'll catch a lot of fish really fast, but I'm not dumb enough to let you on my boat with it. I think people are wrongfully using the flock situation to attack the police, and I think the police are wrongfully responding to these attacks by coming to the defense of an advanced AI surveillance company, a company whose abuse of data has been very well documented through legal action across the country. The information has been brought here every week or so for the past few months. The city is now aware of the risk. When a party is aware of a risk and has the authority to do something about it and does not take action, that's called negligence. In fact, inaction even makes you complicit in any wrongdoing that comes of it. Because of this, I think the right course of action is to turn off the cameras until we come up with a solution. And I will say in the past few weeks, it seems like progress has been made, so I think that we should keep that up. My message to the Auburn Police Department is you have my support. Highly advanced AI surveillance tools implemented by a company that's ethically shady do not. Please stop aligning yourself with and coming to the defense of a company who only pretends to have values that align with yours in order to make a sale. And I want to make one last thing clear. No high-powered AI surveillance solution is acceptable. We need to explore a simple product for its simple use. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard? Ms. Powers?
Good evening. My name is Jenna Powers, Main Street, Aurora. I have worked as a data manager under Europe's GDPR, the strongest data privacy framework, so I know what it looks like when data is treated as a person's property and when it isn't. Many of us that have spoken to council up on this podium work in technology, and the pattern has held. We name a risk at the podium, and weeks or months later, national reporting confirms it. We said Flock had federal ties, while the company was and still is denying any federal contracts. It later admitted to a pilot with Customs and Border Protection. We said the data wouldn't stay local. Audits elsewhere found federal agencies had been inside the system for months. Last week, the Federal Bureau of Investigation announced plans to buy nationwide access to a network of license plate readers, saying it will award contracts to one or more vendors that can offer near real-time information from cameras across the US. Flock is going to be one of them, so will Motorola, probably Axon. The proposed contract is for the FBI Directorate of Intelligence. We've been up here questioning how secure it was, and journalists found Flock cameras streaming live on the open internet. We've read the contracts, the patents, and the code, not just the brochures Flock's handing out. These cameras did not arrive by an open vote of this council. They came in through a grant that was never put before this room, and that is intentional. In Flock's business model, they get cameras installed quietly through free trials and repurposed grant money before the public ever has a say, and they're coaching people to do that. Maybe our police department didn't set out to go around you, but Flock built it so they wouldn't have to ask. As for the data, right here in New York, federal immigration agents were caught searching the Flock database in Westchester County, a sanctuary county. And then I don't know if you've seen the lawsuits for the state that refused to give the federal government access, but that's happening as well. So consider where Auburn stands. We didn't openly choose this, and now we can't control it. Not this council, not the police department, not even the state of New York.
30 seconds.
Once a plate is logged, that record is one login away from an agency that has told the courts your privacy is not its concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard? Mrs. Seneca?
My name is Alice Seneca, and I live in Oak Street in Auburn, New York. And again, I wanted to thank you all for listening to me. I was wondering if any decision had been made concerning the Casey Park pool opening or closing this summer.
We're going to discuss that during budget talks.
You will, okay. So should I wait till later?
If you want to stay throughout the meeting to see if there's additional conversation, I would recommend
Sure,
that.
okay.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard? Mr. Bishop?
Good evening. My name is Andrew Bishop, and I live at 19 Bradford Street, Auburn, New York. And I'm forced to drink the water here in Auburn. Many of you wonder, what is this now with your sign, Andrew? Welcome to Auburn, don't drink the water. It's not the DPW spot. With the tools they're given, they filter it as best they can. But there are things in that lake that are being dumped in because why Groton and Moravia are cheating. That's why even here publicly, week after week, I'm like, here's a check. Here's a check. And remember, Mr. Mayor, the buck stops with you. You even said you have a placard on your desk that says so. I'm ready with that check for $3,000 for the city. Why? So they can do the stable isotope analysis. And for those of you at home or at TV, their land watching, that's basically using DNA except isotopically. That means those people that died of brain cancer from drinking the water supposedly, and the ones that are dying with those multi-million-dollar lawsuits against the city, those chickens are gonna come home to roost, because then there's gonna be a floodgate of other people suing. This is why when I started finding out about this, suddenly somebody's climbing up snowbanks, peeking in my window. Next thing I know, I'm paying extra taxes. And I try to do a FOIL request to the fire department to find out about this sort of thing, and it's ignored. Even though the fire department by law is supposed to have their own records access officer. 2 years waiting. Once again, Mr. Mayor, the buck stops with you. Ignoring FOIL requests, whether it's Mr. Udall's or mine or whoever's, and others. It's too bad I couldn't tie Flock somehow to Moravia and Groton dumping that undertreated sewage into the lake, and we finally get behind it. See, because here's like, for instance, from the citizen. Way back in 2007, Mr. Mayor, back when you first started coming around here, I was already talking about it. Here it is in print. It's not a fiction. And here's another thing, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Udall was kind enough to give me these rules. So before I wasn't allowed to look at anybody here. Why? Because you'd yell at me. Even though I'm willing to look you in the eye and tell you, very poor job, I think, by pretty much everybody here behind the brass rail. Very poor indeed.
30 seconds.
You're supposed to, at the end of everybody speaking here publicly, you're supposed to address those things. It says it right there, a city employee that's behind that brass rail is supposed to address those things. You can't address, we're gonna blow 80 grand for all these other tests on the lake, but a private citizen's gonna pony up 3 grand and we're gonna ignore them? That's absolute lunacy.
Time's up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council,
Thank you,
members of
Mr.
the public
Bishop.
here and at home.
See you next week. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard? Mr. Sensabaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott Senserbo, CEO of the Auburn YMCA, 27 William Street and 6008 East Lake Road in Auburn. I want to thank the mayor and the city council again for giving me the opportunity to speak. I want to follow up briefly on my comments from last week. Tonight I'm here to not to discuss parking. Rather, I'm here to focus something far more central to our shared community, the Casey Park Pool. An integral part of the YMCA's mission is creating community, and for decades the Casey Park Pool has done exactly that. It has served as a place of connection, relief, and accessibility for families across Auburn, especially during the peak summer months. To put that into perspective, in July of 2025 alone, the pool saw over 3,800 visits. That's 3,800 moments where a child had a safe place to swim, where families gathered, and where our community came together. For the YMCA, creating safe, accessible places, particularly for kids, is not optional. It's imperative. With that in mind, earlier this week, I sent each of you an email outlining a proposal from the Auburn YMCA. In short, we are offering to provide lifeguards to the city of Auburn free of charge for 4 weeks this season. This represents a contribution of up to $16,000 in staffing costs paid for by the Y. In addition to that, I want to share a new development. Late last week, I received a call from Wegmans Community Relations asking how they could help support the opening of the pool. On Tuesday, I spoke with City Manager Haynes, and we agreed that I would submit a grant on behalf of the city to cover the cost of pool chlorine. And I'm pleased to share that this morning we were awarded that grant in the amount of $15,000. When combined, this represents $31,000 in costs being offset to the city to help make opening the pool possible. Let me be clear, this is not something that we can do every year, as it's highly unusual for a nonprofit to step up at this level. But we believe strongly in this community that it deserves collaboration and that the Casey Park Pool is worth that effort. As a kid growing up in this community, much like the YMCA, Casey Park meant something to me. For this reason, I felt it was important to exhaust all options
30 seconds, sir.
to make open the pool possible. I also want to be clear that this has nothing to do with parking. I believe that conversation has run its course. It's completely straightforward. The city pays for the electricity, the YMCA pays for the staffing, and Wegmans pays for the chlorine. And City Councilor Overstreet Wilson, none of this will affect any of our scholarships that we provide to our members or this community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard? Mr. Bush?
Dale Bush, 116 Standard Woods. First of all, I'd like to thank the city for putting on the Memorial Day Parade and the wreath-laying ceremony at Veterans Park. As a Vietnam veteran who lost many friends, it's very important to me. Secondly, since I understand the city is going to receive some extra state aid from the state budget, I'd like to advocate for some of those funds being utilized to help save the 13 crossing guard positions. I know there's many areas that this money can be used, and I'm sure you're going to look at them all. But I also know that after 36 years of working full-time, I got bored and got a job part-time as a crossing guard. Thinking I'd only be there a couple of years, I ended up being there 15 years. So I can tell you from experience that at the very least, and I'm sure that Sergeant Gilfus would know the best spots if some had to be eliminated, but in my opinion, I think you need to keep them at least where the schools are. and a few others that are on Grand Avenue, Standard Ave intersection, Grand Avenue, Seymour Street intersection, because I can tell you from working those positions, not all cars stop when that light turns red and that walk sign comes on, which kids will just start. Another position was the one that I did for my last 8 years, and that was at the four-way stop at Franklin and North Seward. I can tell you there are vehicles there that do not stop for stop signs. They go straight through. I even had tractor trailers that didn't belong on Franklin Street to begin with that came straight through that intersection. So if at all possible, I would like you to consider at least looking at the crossing guards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Mrs. Okozik?
My name is Pam Okozik. I live on Chapman Avenue. So I found an article that states that, of course, we're all here in regards to the city budget tonight, and that Mrs. Haynes had stated that we are getting additional funding, which is great for the city. I'm sure they're going to appreciate it. But I couldn't help notice that Officer Bonifano is not here tonight, and that no officers are going to be affected or cut it. And he's not here. I find that truly amazing. Because it's stated in the article that officers, are no longer on the chopping block, that he's sorry that our city workers, multiple city departments, public workers, code enforcement, planning, and city officers are still going to be affected, but his office isn't going to be affected at all. And he's sorry for that. Yet weeks ago when I was coming in here, a lot of the officers said to me that they were here only to support the police department because they know whose jobs matter and whose jobs don't matter. And I find that really sad that I still look out in this crowd and I see city workers and I see sewer department worker people and I see people from City Hall all here tonight, but I don't see the police department. I see the fire department. I see people from the ambulance, but I don't see people from the police department. Only officers that have to be here to clear the room once the meeting's over. Officer Bonifano also put, because he is the president of the union, that our city needs officers. You're right, we do. And they do a hard job. I give them credit for that. But he also put out, weeks ago, a video of a murder that took place last year.
30 seconds.
And he said that he didn't do that to shock people, traumatize them, or sensationalize murder. But you know what? He got exactly the results he wanted. He wanted to shock everybody. He wanted to traumatize everybody so that he could get exactly what he wanted. And he got exactly that because right now we're not cutting anybody from his department. But I bet if those pictures had his mother,
Your
his
time's
father,
up, Mrs. Okozik.
or his son, he wouldn't have posted them on the
Thank you,
internet.
Mrs. Okozik. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on general city matters? Former City Councilor Deb McCormick, welcome back.
Good evening. My name is Debbie McCormick. I live at 30 South Marvin Ave in Auburn, homeowner, former city clerk, former city councilor. I've got about 20 years of behind the brass rail and everywhere else, and I could speak to the city clerk's office especially. in the city clerk's office when I started, we didn't have any communication, any public communication. It was only 20 years ago, but it feels like it was 100 years ago in terms of how fast things have changed. And when I was when I was city clerk, we had a website that was really, I can't even say how ancient it was. It was more like a WordPress mess. But eventually we got software, and it was still early stages of websites, but it grew and it grew, and Mr. Mason has taken the initiative to make it even better. Now we have online payments for almost every city utility that you can think of. So really driving to City Hall is not really necessary anymore, unless you want to see the city clerk. The other thing is it also it helps with transparency. There's any number of things you could find on that website. Minutes from every planning board, city zoning board, city council. All the minutes are on the city website, and I think maybe it would be a good idea at some workshop someday to go over the city's website and review it for people that are interested in what we can do or what citizens can do right from the comfort of their own home. But I do commend Mr. Mason for being transparent, because I know when we took the oath to be city clerk, I was a Democrat, Mr. Mason is a Democrat, and it's the way this job is. We get appointed. So I was appointed, but once I took the oath, I worked for the city of Auburn, the whole entire city. And I believe, and truly in my heart, I believe that's what Mr. Mason does. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCormick. Is there anybody else wishing to be heard on general city matters? Okay, we'll close the public to be heard. We will open the first public hearing on local law number 1 of 2026. Is there anybody wishing to be heard on local law number 1? All right, seeing nobody, we will close the public hearing for local law number 1 of 2026. We open the public hearing for the fiscal year 2026-2027 City of Auburn budget. Is there anybody wishing to be heard on that topic this evening? All right, here. Mr. Rudolph?
Budget, not the tax cap, right?
This is for the budget.
Okay, yeah. Again, James Udall, 106 Osborne Street. My feeling is that the budget should not be passed. It should be tabled until all the potential revenue sources that are available to the city get explored. One in particular has been kind of gnawing at me for the last few weeks, and it's a lack of an occupancy room tax paid by the county. The county uses our motels, hotels, to place people for emergency housing, which is a very noble cause, and it's fine. However, the county doesn't pay the city any of the occupancy room tax. I don't have the exact number. I would send a FOIL request for that, but I still haven't got my other FOIL requests. I'm digressing. But the point is that I would guess that there's probably 150 or 200 rooms that are being rented by the county at this time that would normally be occupied by travelers, working professionals, people who would be paying the city their occupancy room tax. And they're not. Those room taxes go uncollected. The best estimate that I could figure is that in 2023, the county paid $3.3 million toward emergency housing. The majority of that would be here in Auburn. Well, if you took 5% of $3.3 million, I mean, you get a figure that's, I don't know, about $165,000 per year. That hires back a lot of people that are going to be laid off from the city. That pays for cops. That pays the majority of the Casey Park swimming pool. $180,000 is what the Casey Park swimming pool, and yet the city has left on the table potentially $165,000, $170,000 of occupancy room tax. If my figures are incorrect, please reach out to me and let me know, but I'm standing by my figures until I'm corrected. The point is that this is just one revenue source that the city has left go uncollected. And it's easy to then say, well, the taxpayer is going to pick up the tab, but that's not fair. That's really not fair at all. And before this budget gets passed, everybody on this side of the brass rail needs to really consider if
30 seconds.
all of the potential revenue sources available to the city have been accessed and are available. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on the budget? Mr. Bishop?
Did I need to give my name and address again? I'm sorry, sir.
Please.
Andrew Bishop, 19 Bradford Street.
Thank you.
My parents paid a lot of money to send me to a lot of private Catholic schools. You can imagine what that was like. But one of the things, especially there at CBA, the brothers there, and other institutions of knowledge and learning that I attended, you know, accounting especially, you learn from a very early age how to deal with numbers. And accounting is a very simple, straightforward process. All we're doing is we're putting what we get in, where it came from, where is it going out, into each category. Now, I looked at a lot of these budgets as they were shown here online and at home there where people could view, and I noticed that there wasn't very much of a breakdown in the budget. There was kind of like everything was kind of lump sum together. Now, that's just my opinion, but I could see where there was definitely, there's a lot of like, where did it exactly go? I don't know. Now, however you want to roll with your show, that's your business. One of the things was, I did notice there was a lady that did come, and she mentioned, hey, you know, if we did a rolling blackout of every other street light, we could save 1.5 positions. Never heard anything from that again. You know, I was thinking too, you know, in my family, a lot of them are in the military, some were especially procurement officers. Now, I'm sure in each department they have their own, what you would call a procurement officer. They decide how many this, that, and the other they're going to need. Now, I'm not saying we get rid of those people because obviously they have a lot of other positions. But what if instead of everybody buying from Granger separately, we're all buying together? I think there might be a slight savings. Same thing with the gasoline. I'm sure they're all buying independently. I mean, see, there's the thing. We don't know because in that budget, it's like maybe, I might have gotten away with that maybe in 10th grade. Beyond that, no. I need line by line, exactly. How many miles on each vehicle? How much in gas? That's the only way you're going to find out if the thing's starting to go bad. These were simple, straightforward accounting principles. I'm not seeing it much here, but there it is. This is why I'm here every
30
week.
seconds, Mr. Bishop.
So, in any event, you know, these are the issues that I think that have occurred in the past. There wasn't really much really good accounting going on, but that's just my opinion. Thank you once again for your time, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, members of the media, the public here and at home.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on the city budget? Mr. Hurley?
My name is Dan Hurling. I live at 250 East Genesee Street, Auburn, New York. Regarding the budget, as I've said in the past, I know there's a lot of difficult decisions that are happening right now. One area, there's areas we can control and areas we can influence. Obviously, we can control our cost a lot more than we can control our revenue sometimes. And one area that I just have more questions on is the police department budget. As it was presented, I'm not anti-police. I like the police. I like everything that our officers do here. I like the stats they share. I like to see the decline in use of force. And I think there's a lot of positive things going on. As the budget, as it was presented, it's hard for me to get my head wrapped around a little bit. It seemed as though there were some misquotes in it. And also trying to understand truly what is the need with policing. It's a difficult question, but I do believe we can put more effort into understanding what the true need is. I did a little research. In the 80s, I believe the union was champion for a minimum staff of 776, which would be an average of 6.3 officers covering a 24-hour period. My current look at it, with assuming 48 patrol officers, we could average 9 officers every hour. In the 80s, we had 20% larger population. These are just some of the objective information around it. I know it's still a subjective decision. There's subjective elements to it. I would just really love to see some more information from the police department, preferably before the budget's passed. If that can't happen, right, reasonable, I'd like to just see us continue to work at it and to get better in that area, not necessarily expecting a miracle or everyone to align with my thinking overnight, but just something that we continue to work on. You know, my area with the budget, I just want to make sure that we're prioritizing our youth and spending enough money and funds to create a good environment for our youth as we work to develop this city. And I know we can't do it all, and I just want to make sure that we're truly aligning our supply with our demand in every area we possibly can, and using all of our resources to the best of our ability. And then, you know, in the budget, I would like to see Casey Park Pool funded and other recreational opportunities for our youth. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and I don't envy the position anyone's in, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurling. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on the budget? Ms. McCormick?
I hadn't planned, Debbie McCormick, 30 South Marvin Ave. I hadn't planned on this until Mr. Bush mentioned it. When I was running for city council, crossing guards and firefighters were on the block. And of course, I was, as a daughter and granddaughter of a firefighter, I was championing their cause. I wish that no one had to lose their job. But the crossing guards aren't just crossing guards. I hope there's a way to solve that. When I did run, I went to Genesee School, and I stood there with the crossing guard that was there at the time. And it was just a joy to see these kids. They see this man every morning. He's like they're linked to life. And they don't see him, there's something wrong. And he was a sweet older man, just like Mr. Bush. But it's if there's a way to keep certain, even if you had to reduce it a little, need be. But those crossing guards maybe the school district, they're in trouble too, but if they could share some of the costs, that could help. Or maybe as a grant, I don't know, but keeping those kids, it's all about the kids that go to school and keeping them safe. And the crossing guard is a link for a lot of different reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing? Ms. Powers?
On the topic of the budget,
Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Jenna Powers, Main Street, Aurora.
Thank you.
On the topic of the budget, again, I want to bring up Flock, and Motorola was mentioned when Androsco did his presentation, which came as a surprise as well. And I really discourage any monies being allocated towards AI aggregating mass surveillance data, period, at all. And think we should really take time to pause it and come up with regulation around it and make a very informed decision after a lot of research and after more info comes out. We hear more and more each week about Flock and Axon and what they're acquiring. Axon acquired E911 Carbine, or E911 from Carbine and Bus Patrol. So now they're not only integrated with Ring cameras, they also have the law enforcement tool. They know where all the kids on buses are and anyone who calls 911. It's concerning, and that's all. Also want to make a note about crossing guards. My son's a walker, and they are very important, and there are many walkers at the middle school and all walkers at Genesee, and I drive past Genesee, and they're definitely necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on the city budget? All right, we'll close the public hearing on the city budget. The meeting minutes will be forthcoming next week. We'll move on to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. There's one bid opportunity on the city's website, building contractors for vacant rental program due on June 16th, 2026. Update on the Burgess Street culvert, paving binder course will be complete by the end of the day today, followed by top finishing course tomorrow. The last construction element, which is the setting of fencing atop the culvert end wall, remains to be completed. Restoration of construction area and resident properties will be 80% by the end of the day today, and the road should be open for through traffic by the weekend. From the police department, both recruits graduated the Syracuse Police Academy this past Friday. They're learning policy procedures at the moment and soon will be on field training for approximately 6 weeks. Officer Jacob Steinbecker was valedictorian of the class and also won an award for top physical fitness. The police department and the GIV unit hosted an event at Falcon Park this past Tuesday. All 5th graders from the Auburn Enlarged City School District attended this event. There were police demonstrations, kickball, foot chase races that were verified by radar, face painting, and lunch was served to all from various local pizzerias. Earlier today, the chief attended a BOCES class to recruit future police officers. And I also want to again recognize city employees who are retiring or moving on to other opportunities in this upcoming week. Jean Herring, our assessor, with 8 years of service, and Tim Brennan, our assistant corporation counsel, with 3 years of service. Thank you to these dedicated city employees who have served our organization with excellence, and we wish them all the best.
Any questions for Ms. Haynes? Reports from members of council? Anyone? I want to piggyback on what Mr. Bush said about the Memorial Day Parade. Turned out to be a great day. It was a very nice event, great participation from the community. I want to acknowledge the crews at DPW that got downtown prepared and closed off the parade route. Also want to acknowledge Mr. Talbot, Superintendent of Public Works. This will be his final Memorial Day Parade. Thank you for all the service over the years for that event and everything else. And I know you're passing the torch on to Mr. Rhodes, and I'm sure that he'll run with it. I want to thank APD for keeping the parade routes safe and all the veterans organizations that showed up to lay wreaths. It was a very nice ceremony, and I was very pleased with the turnout. Tuesday, we welcomed Herman Ave 4th graders here to City Hall for Passport to History. And yesterday, we unveiled a piece of public art that was funded by the New York State Downtown Revitalization Initiative, honoring Auburnian Tommy Walsh, a 2-time Tony Award winner. His family was all on hand. It was a long time coming, and I know they were extremely pleased to see this mural unveiled in downtown Auburn. Local law number 1 is on the agenda. That will be voted on next week. We'll move on to our first resolution of the evening. Agreement resolution number 48 of 2026, Casey Park Ice Rink Rental Agreements. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Clarko, second by Councilor Cuddy.
Agreement Resolution 48 of 2026, whereas the City of Auburn and Salt City Kings will enter into an agreement whereby Salt City Kings will lease Casey Park Ice Rink from September 8th, 2026 through March 1st, 2027. And whereas pursuant to said agreement, the city shall continue to maintain, operate, and manage the Casey Park Ice Rink during the term of the lease. And whereas Salt City Kings shall pay to the city the sum of $250,000 for the lease and sublease rights associated with the Casey Park Ice Rink for the period of September 8th, 2026 through March 1st, 2027. And whereas the City Council has determined that entering into said agreement is in the best interest of the city and will promote recreational, athletic, and community activities within the City of Auburn. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby authorizes and approves the agreement between the City of Auburn and Salt City Kings Incorporated for the lease and sublease of the Casey Park Ice Rink. Be it further resolved, the City Controller is authorized to recognize funds into the revenue account ER 9920652. And be it further resolved, the Mayor is hereby authorized to sign any and all documents necessary to finalize the contract.
with us this evening is Mr. Rhodes from the Department of Public Works. I know that, Mr. Rhodes, you worked on this contract with this organization. Could you come to the podium in case council has some questions? If you don't...
I couldn't hear you. The air conditioner was loud back there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring you up, maybe get a little background on this agreement, how it came to be, and I guess how open skate and things like that will function
Sure.
in this season.
Yeah, the Salt City Kings reached out, and
Can you get the microphone up? Yeah.
Salt City Kings reached out actually last year and wanted to rent some ice time. We came up with a contract. They didn't agree to the terms. It kind of fell through, but they came back and asked if they could rent the whole ice. So we came to an agreement, and we are going to retain the revenue from public skating. We're still going to work out some details on what days, but it's going to be 4 hours. But yeah, I think it's a win-win for the hockey community and the city.
How does this affect Auburn High School hockey team?
So there, in the agreement, it does say that they shall sublease ice time to our local organizations, not limited to Auburn Ice Hawks and the Auburn Large City School District, but other organizations as well.
And has there been discussions with the school district to explain this to them?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Rhodes?
Hey, Brad, I appreciate you putting the work in getting this contract together.
Yep.
One thing I would wanted to check was, is it going till March 1st or March 8th? On the cover memo, it says September 8th to March 1st, but then in the agreement, we have one signature. It says September 8th to March 8th. I just want to make sure we're where we're supposed to be.
It should be March 1st. I don't know if that's on the agreement.
Yeah, that's actually on the agreement itself on the first page. That's the only, it's March 1st on everything else except for the agreement.
Yeah, I think that might have been a typo. I apologize.
The only other question I had was, you go down a couple sections after that, it talks about the automatic renewal. If we don't give 30 days, notice, are we going to actually look at the cost of running that ice rink before we do that?
Yeah, that's something that they wanted in there, and I talked with Comptroller Mrs. Leeson, and we think that we can establish, are we doing well? Is all the costs covered in that 30 days, and then we can make a decision, either back out or renew.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Garland, since Salt City has already signed the agreement, can we bring the agreement back to them, have them put the correct date in and initial it? Would that be?
Yes, Mayor, that it sounds to me like that's a scrivener's error or typo. It's visible to see this described.
All right, very good. Any other questions from the council? Mr. Rhodes? Oh.
I know we already signed the contract. My question is specific to the rate of electricity. So within that time frame that we've signed, if the electricity goes up, will they cover the cost of that, the cost of the increase of electricity, or will the city have to absorb it because maybe there's a...
The city will, but we did leave a little buffer in there as far as how much money we're getting in revenue. Off of last year, I think we have a good amount there to cover.
Okay, and if we renew it again, will we add a bigger buffer for potential increase in electricity?
I think it's possible. Okay. I have to ask Corporation Council.
Yeah, typically those are some of the costs that we try to build into a contract.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Rose, I want to piggyback on what Councilor Diego said. Great job getting this done. It ensures the ice rink continues to those in the community who value it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Councilor Diego?
Yes.
Councilor Wilson?
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy?
Yes.
Councilor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
Agreement Resolution Number 49 of 2026, authorizing an agreement between Auburn City Ambulance and Auburn Community Hospital. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Overstreet Wilson, second by Councilor Diego.
Agreement Resolution 49 of 2026, whereas Auburn City Ambulance is a New York State certified ambulance service owned by the City of Auburn, and whereas Auburn City Ambulance desires to provide one dedicated advanced life support staff ambulance to Auburn Community Hospital for emergency and non-emergency interfacility ambulance transport of Auburn Community Hospital patients. And whereas Auburn Community Hospital desires to contract with Auburn City Ambulance for the services of one dedicated advanced life support staffed ambulance for emergency and non-emergency ambulance transport of the Auburn Community Hospital patients. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council does hereby authorize an agreement between the Auburn City Ambulance and Auburn Community Hospital in the amount of $500,000 with a term of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. And be it further resolved, the City Controller is authorized to amend the revenue budget with offsetting expenditures in account number A4540, including salary and fringe benefits. Be it further resolved that City Manager Jennifer Haynes, as CEO of the Auburn City Ambulance, is authorized to execute the agreement with Auburn Community Hospital and all other necessary documents and otherwise act on all matters related to said agreement.
Do you want to provide some additional background on how we arrived to this point before we turn it over to council for questions?
Sure. When we had been going through budget discussions related to ambulance and looking at the potential of reducing positions, Keziah Sullivan, our Director of Operations, had approached me with the idea of utilizing the opportunity to provide ambulance and staff to the hospital as a contract. It's something that the hospital had been asking for, talking about. We hadn't had the opportunity or the resource to provide that to them. So she went and talked with them. We have spent a lot of time with them back and forth getting to this agreement. And so we are excited to have this agreement in front of us. This agreement would allow us to retain the full-time staffed positions that we had talked about in the budget. On your tables before the meeting, I had provided the updated budget, putting in this contract and restoring those positions. We also had some part-time positions that were in the mix. We are reducing our part-time budget. That will just be less shifts available to our part-time employees, but still shifts available to them. As we've discussed, we are proposing a budget where revenues are equal to expenditures. So that is, we are still able to do that with this contract and retaining our ambulance and staff.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Haynes? Councilor Diego?
Yeah, just want to thank her. I think we got a typo on the beginning of this contract as well. It says
Sure.
25 hours a day.
But they work extra hard.
Yeah.
So we will adjust that. Thank you, Counselor.
Is this ambulance to directly support the new heart cath lab? Is that the intention of this, or is this across the board, all services?
So this will be the cath lab and all transports that they need.
All right, very good. I understand that the cath lab's been extremely busy and successful.
Yes.
I think their original goal was 100 patients in the first year, and they did the ribbon cutting. After a month in, they were over 100 patients. So it's a great service that's being provided to the community, and I'm glad that the City of Auburn can help support that. Any further questions? Oh.
I just wanted to add one thing. I just want to be transparent about level of service. Even though we're able to retain ambulance and staff, we are dedicating one ambulance to the hospital. That means we'll have one less ambulance to respond to 911 calls. So we will see a bit of a drop in service overall, and we obviously will still provide excellent service and good response times, but we will have an ambulance fully dedicated to the hospital, so we will feel that a bit in the community.
Yes, go, please.
And speaking on what you just said, it's one less ambulance in service, but if we didn't sign the contract, we were taking that out of service anyway.
That's
so we
correct.
retained all the employees and we signed
Correct.
a $500,000 contract on top, and
Correct. So
everybody
that's a
kept
good
their
point.
job.
Either way, we would have seen a difficult situation with service. So yes, we're retaining the ambulance and employees. I'm very excited.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson.
Actually, have two questions. So how many ambulances does that leave specifically for the city to respond to 911 calls?
Okay, so I'm going to call my operations expert up here because she can speak to this way better than me. So, Keziah Sullivan, our Director of Operations.
Thank you.
So in the daytime, it drops from 4 to 5 to 3 to 4. And at night, it drops from 3 to 4 to 2 to 3.
Okay. My other question is, prior to us signing this contract, how often would you say that we would get called to transport for the hospital?
Well, their numbers have changed a little bit since they started the cath lab, so I don't have up-to-date stats because that's only been a few months, but prior to that, we were doing about 700 transports per year.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All set with Ms. Sullivan? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Calarco?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
All right, we'll move on to other business from the council at this time. Any additional input on the budget for staff? Counselor Cuddy?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to thank the staff for a very difficult budget season, to say the least. But I do feel that we're almost there. And, you know, tonight was very important because, or this week was very important because there's been a lot of developments. I do think that, you know, people are listening. I do want to thank Senator May for coming through with an extra $2 million to help us in this difficult time. That money, as many might know, may possibly be used up in some of the new changes in the Tier 6. So, you know, I don't feel it's like happy days are here again, but it does help. So with that being said, another development besides Senator May delivering for the people of Auburn is the hard work that the YMCA CEO, Scott Sensabaugh, has done to secure the possibility of having swimming at Casey Park this summer. I want to throw my support for that to happen this year. With the support of the YMCA and Wegmans, that will help with the costs. I also see, you know, I also believe that the money, part of the $2 million could use to help make sure that children this summer have access to the pool at Casey Park. So I want to definitely throw support for that. There's been a lot of support, not just for children, but Ms. Seneca and other adults will be able to enjoy the pool as well. So I want to make sure that we do that. I know the concern was about the cement, so I'm hopeful that staff can either, if we have to push back the opening date so that safety needs are being met and that the work can be done, that will happen. But I'm hopeful that 4 weeks out of the summer that we can get swimming to happen at Casey Park. So that's one of the things I want to bring to the fore.
If I could just speak to that, that's okay.
Yes, sure.
So we have been talking a lot about how to get the repair done. We do have a plan that if the council decides to pull the trigger, we would immediately start working towards that so we could get the repair done before the opening date. And then on your tables, I had put the recommended budget for Casey Park, which includes, as the comptroller has talked about before, the pool, the park, and the ice rink. We already talked about the ice rink with the contract that was approved. You can see with the pool, the total expenses are just over $38,000. That takes out the lifeguard costs, which the YMCA is covering. So if you take that $38,000 and subtract the $15,000 grant from Wegmans, the amount that we would need to open the pool would be $23,000, just over $23,000.
Great, that sounds excellent. So that's one thing I want to make sure that we are fully considering, and I totally support that happening this summer. And again, I will say that this body does listen to the people of Auburn. Another issue that I feel strongly about is the crossing guards. So I'm a school teacher. I drive by the crossing guards on Genesee Street every day. I wave to them. And I want to support the crossing guards. I do think that, you know, this is an important part of our community. It's a safety issue, and I support the crossing guards for the city of Auburn. I would prefer it stay at 13. I look at it in a way where, you know, we have been doing this, and I feel that we should continue to do this, and that's where I stand at the 13 positions. I know there's 2 substitutes as well, so that is my recommendation for that.
Could I speak to that just
Yes,
quickly?
yes.
Sure. We had been working with the police department to identify major intersections to provide a reduced number of crossing guards. 6 was what we were going to be recommending to the council. Just thank you for your feedback. Just wanted to provide this information as part of that conversation. We had identified 6 intersections: North Street at Seymour, Metcalf Drive and South, Grant Ave and Standard, Lake Ave and Metcalf, Franklin Street and North Seward, and Grant Ave and Seymour. We were able to get actual costs for 6 crossing guards at just over $79,000. We have been working through budget savings and have been able to identify just over $7,700 in savings that we could provide. So we would need to come up with just over $70,000 for 6 crossing guards in order to fund those in the budget. We can get the costs for all 13. I don't have those with me right now, but we can provide that. But just over $70,000 for 6 at those major intersections.
Okay.
Mr. Manager, if I may add, as a matter of law, the reduction in staff crossing guards would then allow the Auburn Large City School District to participate in the joint program of cost sharing. So I believe that the 13 is, of course, ideal, but a reduction of the number that the city budgets for would then make it permissible for the general municipal law for the Auburn Large City School District to contribute to that program and bring it up to larger.
I understand. My concern is, you know, we want to work with our counterparts throughout the community, and you know, I do think the school district is well aware of our situation. You know, I'm more along the lines of like, you know, taking the part of the $2 million, because I'm really just be honest with you, I'm really responding to like what was said tonight. And this is the night, public hearing. And what was said tonight is crossing guards and swimming, all right? And I just feel like we should like demonstrate. I mean, if my colleagues see otherwise, that I get that. I know that there's ongoing negotiations with the school district. I get that, or you know, potential collaboration. I hope that those work out. I just want to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward and doing that now. That's me. Lastly, the last one of the later public to be heard was talking about doing more for our youth. And you know, I do think that there should be making sure that anything that needs to be supplemented. I don't know what the sponsorship is for our summer rec program, but we want to make sure it is robust program like it was at the very minimum like last year. So just to make sure that we are in line with the kind of programming. Hopefully there's enough sponsors to have the quality last year, but if there wasn't, if the city can help make sure that those needs are being met. So those are my main concerns, or not concerns, but things that I really feel that we could take the budget that was given last week, and with the new knowledge of the $2 million from Senator May. And again, my asks are not I don't think they're substantial in the larger scheme of things, because I do feel that we need to make sure that our fund balance is healthy. Those are the only three things that I am very supportive of based on the new information. And again, I do want to thank Scott Sensabaugh for working to find funding so that it will make it easier for Casey Park to happen. So that's my feedback on the budget and recent developments.
So I have a number for all 13 crossing guards. Thank you to our comptroller who's back there working this. $170,000 we would need for all 13. $170,000 for all 13 crossing guards. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Are you all set, Councilor Cuddy?
I'm all set, thank you.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson?
I just want to piggyback what Councilor Cuddy was talking about specific to the things that folks here tonight brought forward, and also agree that this body does listen, and the mayor and the city manager does listen to the things that are brought forward. But I also want us to consider, because I do support, and I don't believe your asks are tremendous as it relates to making sure that our children have something healthy to do and keeping them safe. But I do want us to think about how to not be in this situation next year. I thank Senator May and our mayor for working together, and the state budget passing and us getting $2 million, but we're not promised that next year. So thinking about how we not be in this situation next year as the cost of everything around us continues to increase. It feels good this year to think about how we can make the things happen, but what happens when we start talking about next year? So having this body discuss what that would look like, having the community maybe come together with some type of committee to think about ways in which to not put things for kids in a chokehold, because that's basically what it is. Are we going to cut it? Are we not going to cut it? If the money comes through, maybe we can keep it. And when we have to talk about giving kids only 4 weeks of this or maybe no weeks of that, it does pull at your heartstrings. What exactly can we do? And again, to kind of make this full circle, I'm very grateful that the money was found and we did receive it. But I don't want to be having this conversation next year in January. So I do think happy days are not here, and I do think it is our responsibility to think about the long game as it relates to programming for next year, because we'll be back in this situation. The other comment that I want to, I guess, question, not necessarily a comment. So as it pertains specifically to the occupancy tax, and maybe I should know this, maybe I can find it back in a recording. If DSS, which is a county entity, and they use the Auburn hotels to house folks in emergency situations, do we not collect occupancy tax?
We do not collect occupancy tax from Cayuga County because they're a tax-exempt organization.
because they're tax exempt organization. And that is a state level tax exempt, or is it a not-for-profit tax exempt organization?
Mary Beth, can you come up and answer that, please? Thank you.
So all municipalities in New York State are exempt from New York State taxes, which does include occupancy tax.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question, and I don't mean it to sound as if I'm being biased or even ignorant. Can the city say no to using
Not
our
that I'm
hotels?
aware of.
Okay.
I would have to do more research on that, but not that I'm aware of. You know, in my concern, we're all county taxpayers too.
Sure.
So then if the county's paying tax to us, where does that tax come from for them? And what does that do to their budget?
Okay.
But I would have to do more research, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so they're renting rooms in privately owned hotels. I'm not sure what our role could be in that, but we will for sure educate ourselves on that. Yeah.
It's my understanding also that the hotels can not take those occupants, correct? Like the Hilton Garden can't be forced to take in people from the county.
Right, there's still private businesses that can run their businesses as they see fit, correct?
Yes.
Generally, on that matter of taxation, one municipal corporation can't pick and choose whether or not another municipal corporation should pay their taxes if there's state law indicating it should. It's in my mind, it's a pretty subtle issue.
Thank you.
All set with Ms. Leeson? All right, thank you, Ms. Leeson. Councilor Overstreet Wilson, are you all set?
Yes, sir.
All right. Councilor Clerkham?
On the budget, I know it was very exciting to get that news this week from our state representatives that we were going to get that extra $2 million. I do believe the bulk of that really does need to go back into our fund balance to try to make sure we're not in this position again next year. We need to be thinking ahead with those issues. That being said, I do agree with the community that if there is a way to get the pool open, and with what the YMCA has been willing to do with Wyman stepping up, I think that is a worthwhile cost for our citizens, and would like to see that happen. I do remember swimming there myself as a child, and it's a wonderful memory. So I want other kids to have that. So thank you to everybody who worked on that. And I agree, as a school teacher, crossing guards are important. We do need them, and I thank everybody for kind of breaking it down to the 6 most needed sites, and then we can consider which option is best for the city to go. But to what Mr. Bush said earlier, yes, Franklin Street and Stewart is a really tough corner, and I totally agree. I would not want to see children crossing without a crossing guard there. So I would support bringing back at least 6, if not more, crossing guards.
So
but
that
outside of that, I would not want to change anything else to the budget.
that intersection is included in the 6.
I do have a point of clarification.
One second. Are you all set?
Yes,
Counselor?
I'm all
Okay.
set. Thank you.
Counselor?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Ms. Haynes, you talked about speaking with Chief Andrasco about possibly having some of the officers. Did I mishear that? Be a part of or being looped in to help the kids cross? I may have heard that wrong.
So we would have crossing guards at these 6 intersections. What we are hopeful to have conversations with the school district about assistance from their staff as well. And again, I'm saying this publicly, but we have not had these conversations yet. We do have a little bit of time to work through this, you know, with the crossing guards being off for the summer and into September, but whether it's funding or assistance, you know, we would definitely love to partner with the school district on that.
And we're looking at both the morning and the afternoon, right?
Yes, for these 6 that we're proposing, that we would need them in the morning and the afternoon. If we went back to 13, all 13 crossing guards work morning and afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you all set, Counselor?
I'm all set.
Counselor Diego? Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a minute. You wanna go first now?
Before Counselor Diego
You already had your
starts.
turn, Mark.
It is germane to the crossing guards. I obviously support all 13. One I do see missing here is is the Genesee Street one. What's the rationale for no one on Genesee Street?
So I was involved in some of the conversation. We don't have, the police chief was not able to
Okay.
be here tonight. Mary Beth, can you help with that a little bit?
Not to overstep, Officer or Sergeant Gilfis, Chief Androsco, and I had some exchange about prioritizing. My understanding is that, like, we would try to use SROs or SPOs at intersections in front of school district buildings, so like Genesee would be one of those. If there was not an SRO or SPO available, we could talk to the district about would they have a staff person available to help. So I think the thought was the crossing guards that are like in front of district buildings might be easier to problem solve between our SRO and SPO staff that's already there. Maybe supplementing with district staff. But again, I think we haven't worked through all of those details yet, but that was the ultimate goal.
Maybe that's where you got that, Counselor.
Where I got it from.
Thank you.
I just want to say that that's a school that has the most walkers, correct? So I just want to, just keep that into consideration.
Okay.
Are you all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Floor is yours, Counselor Diego.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
It's going to be a few minutes, but I'm just going to.
No, take your time. That's what we're here for.
I appreciate you giving me the extra week after I received some more documents that I asked for last week to go through this. I'm just going to touch on a couple things, and I'm going to get into the revenue and the budget, the line items themselves. Speaking like all the counselors spoke today, it's great that we got that $2 million. I think one of the issues is going to be is if we're going to abide by our own fund balance policy 6%, we're supposed to have like $2.859 million in that fund balance. We got about $800,870, I believe, right now. That $2 million puts us where we're supposed to be. I think the important part about that is kind of like Council Overstreet said, that's not promised next year. Either is the other 1.9 million. We've received an extra $3.9 million this year in this budget if everything goes the way they say. We had the 1.2 million we had already accounted for. They gave us that $500,000, $200,000 for the Heritage Center across the street, and then they hit us with this 1.2 million also, plus 2 million. So I think the issue that I'm going to have with this entire thing is you're talking almost $4 million that might not be there next year. That's the first problem. Second problem is going into, if the fund balance policy says 6%, this puts us exactly where we need to be. That also affects your bond ratings and your credit score, which is going to help the people of the city, because when we have to bond out for this bridge, among other things, fixing some roofs, the heating, HVAC, you're going to get a better interest rate on these bonds when you have a higher credit rating. We start breaking our own fund balance policy, it's going to cost the people more money. That's just the reality of it. Not against the pool, not against the crossing guards or anything like that. I got a different way to get there, and I'm going to present that in a moment. All this fund balance that we've been talking about, when we make decisions here, we need to be looking 3 to 5 years down the road. We can't just assume that this is going to get us where we're going to be. We're using money that is coming in temporarily. I hope it is. I hope it comes in every year. I'm not going to cross my fingers and hope it happens, because if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we're spending money that might not be here. We should always be looking down the road, staying in line with the 5-year plan that I believe Comptroller said that was going to be one of the top 3 things we were going to get done this year. It's important when you're putting out, comprehensive plan, but we don't have a 5-year, financial plan or a debt plan attached to it. That's a problem. So that's another thing, that having the extra money is important if we need it for something. If we need it for an emergency, something, immediately that needs to be taken care of, but we can't take money out of the fund balance because we don't have enough and we're already below where we're supposed to be. As far as being in the same position next year, I've spoke on this more times than I can count. I'm just going to quote what was said when I asked this in person to somebody that's very well in tune with the numbers, I'll say, for the city of Auburn. And I asked, we continue to add things back in. We put out back, 6-8 weeks ago about we were gonna have to cut this, and this. And it almost seems maybe, I'm not gonna say it was done intentionally, but I think we did a little fear mongering ourselves, because you see how these meetings were. People came out in droves and they were very upset about cuts, this, and this. Correct me if I'm wrong, city manager, I believe as of sitting here tonight, there's not a single full-time person that's gonna be laid off.
There's actually two that I wanted to talk about with the council during this time.
Right. Okay. We can speak on it now, I'm assuming we're correct.
We can if you'd like, sure.
Right. I'll just touch on it real fast, and cut me off if I'm wrong or something is out of whack. The only two full-time spots that are slated to be cut right now are 2 firemen. But with that being said, and I said this multiple weeks ago, and people got upset about it, and I'm going to stick to exactly what I said, and I'm going to say it again tonight. The contract that they're currently working off of doesn't allow that. So those 2 firemen are going to be working. I mean, that's what the contract says. I don't see the city breaking the contract. We signed a contract with the fire department. We're going to uphold the contract and go from there. I think that's important to be said, because, I mean, you're talking a couple $100,000 more, another $232,000, $235,000. But that's important for everybody to know, that we don't have a single full-time employee that's not going to be employed when this budget is done. So, like I said, once again, that's a good thing. But going back to when we put things out, maybe next year when we get to this position, we should probably hold off a little bit on what we may or may not cut until we have a better idea where the revenue numbers are going to come in. Obviously, we can't wait till last week we just found out about $2 million last Friday. We can't wait until a week before the budget. But I think we jumped the gun a little bit on that one. But going back to the 2 firemen spot, it would cost us more in overtime if we don't fill them, which also goes back to they have a contract, they have a staffing level. Those 2 guys are going to be filled unless something is happening that I don't know about. I don't see that they're going to be working as well. So that's a good thing for everybody. It's just more money that we're going to have to come up with, which, like I said, I got a plan for this as well. But it's going back to being in the same position next year, when the person that knows the numbers better than anybody in this entire city says we're going to be in the exact same position next year. I got a huge problem with that, because I have beat this to death since I started here in January. We got to come in lower on revenue. We can't overestimate revenue. The cuts need to be the cuts that we have to make. You don't even have to look at the staffing levels, and I'm going to show you this in a few minutes. And I'm not a great guy with numbers like Mr. Bishop asked me to be, but I'm going to do my best to be an accountant today. When it comes down to it, there's money that can be saved in this budget, whether any department head or anybody sitting here today wants to admit it. And I'm going to propose what I think we should do, or at least we're going to take a hard look at this, because the numbers are the numbers. You can't lie when the numbers are sitting right here in front of you and you start going through them. I went through over 1,500 line items for every department in this entire city, went over 300 line items of revenue. It took me well over 100 hours, probably 150 hours to do this. I'm going to do it because I'm going to do what's right for the city. When we start going back to adding money into the budget, like I said before, we got 25,000 people we should be worried about as well. I'm not saying that, we don't worry about certain entities in the city and certain groups of people. That's what everyone that got elected here is supposed to be doing. A personal opinion, obviously, you do what's best for the people. You can't just go and do a little here or a little there. We're going to add this or add that in because of, this amount of people or that amount of people. It's got to be for overall for everybody, the taxpayers that are going to pay and take on the burden for the money. I think that some of the decisions that were made, that are still being made, and it was kind of like Council Overstreet said, and maybe it sounds cold, but for me, business is business. It's always going to be that way. You know, I have friends in every department in this city, but business is business. I can differentiate my friendship and putting the 25,000 people in the city of Auburn first. That's what I'm sitting here for. There's been decisions, I believe, that were made based on feelings and friendships. It is what it is. I sat here for 5 months and watched it happen. That's something that shouldn't happen. And I won't say, you know, I'm not going to call people out by name, but people know who did what and who said what. And, you know, that's where we start veering. That's why certain things happen. Yes, we had a ridiculous amount of increases this year between, you know, retirement, you know, contributions and the health insurance, the electric and utility costs, but that's not everything. I mean, you look at it when it comes down to it. Like I said, we got $3.9 million extra dollars this year, and here we are talking that we're still making cuts. You know, the decision's got to be made what's in the best interest of all the people, not what is in the best interest of what we think that, well, this is something that I would like to do, or this is something that they would like to do, or geez, these people are upset about this. Once again, business is business, and, you know, take it for what it's worth. That's I'm going to stand by that, because that's why I'm sitting here, to stick up for, you know, the people that put me in this position. Everybody has their own thoughts, and I respect everybody's thoughts on what they think we should and shouldn't do. That's going to be my take on it. Like I said, this should be a 3 to 5 year decision right now. We shouldn't be deciding on what are we going to do next year. And I'm going to say it again, when the people that know the numbers best say we're going to be sitting in this exact same position next year, I don't think anybody sitting behind this brass bar wants to be here if that happens next year. There's no way we can come in here and say, hey, sorry, we're going to have to cut this many people, we're going to have to cut this much out of your budget. It's not a 1 year fix, but I tell you what, we can be very close. And like I said, I'll make my own presentation, take it for what it's worth, and, you know, if you guys agree, then we'll go from there. If you don't, it is what it is, but I'm going to be on the record stating exactly what I have come up with personally for this entire budget. I'm going to get into it real quickly and briefly here. When I went through the 300 plus lines for the revenue, and Mary Beth knows because I've asked her every single meeting, and I'm going to use what you always say to me, and I respect the fact that we can talk back and forth like this without somebody being upset or taking hard feelings. You're not going to like what I have to say, just like you say to me, and you're right. You know, we go back and forth, we agree to disagree. And anybody that's watched a single meeting since I sat here January 8th, every time Mary Beth gets up there, I said, we got to be conservative on the revenue. That's something that happened last year. We way overestimated revenue last year. We didn't hit some of the numbers. Some numbers weren't the full year. I remember the city clerk said the same thing about maybe the hotel occupancy tax, stuff like that. It is what it is, but I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. I just picked 27 out of over 300, and I'm just going to throw a couple quick numbers out there on what we brought in compared to what we're asking, and this is just a few of the numbers. I'll give you percentages first. On this one, we went 149% higher than what we brought in last year. On the next one, we went 39.1% higher, 68.5% higher, 77.6% higher, 64.4% higher, 86.3% higher, 87.7% higher, 100% higher, 78% higher, 56% higher, 62% higher, 163% higher, 81.8% higher, 73.9% higher, 77.3%. You get the gist. 177.7% higher. To me,
Counselor, let him finish. He's got the floor.
To me, that's not conservative. And I know what's going to happen when this is all said and done. Well, this is because of this and this guy. I'll step in again and say this. I did notice that some of the revenue numbers were changed. I did see that, and I inquired about it, and the number that was recommended was changed by the department heads. So I'm not gonna drop that back on the comptroller. I mean, it is what it is. The bottom line is out of just, 27, 28 out of 300, they literally, that's $1.7 million more than we collected last year. We missed by, what, $2 million, give or take, last year? We ended up, so if we missed by $2 million, meaning we overestimated revenue last year, just on, and this isn't 300, this isn't even the whole thing, this is the ones that I picked out, as I was going through and looking at the percentages. How are we $1.7 million higher just on 27, 28 of these? That's going to be the problem. That's where, because, and everybody, I'm sure, I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, it's a very simple process. We're going to say we need this much money for the budget this year, and this is how much revenue we're going to bring in. If we say we're going to bring in $10 million in revenue and we bring in $5 million next year, well, where's the money come from? There's no money in the fund balance. That's the bottom line. You have to meet these revenue goals. We're balancing the budget, hoping that these numbers come in. I would rather be a little lower on the estimates, and if we go over, then you have a little bit of money to put in the fund balance. But if we don't hit the numbers, then what do? Where's the money come from? Listen, you're killing me here, man.
Because I'm asking for clarification.
Counselor, I think we should let Counselor Diego finish. You had your turn.
You can ask, Mayor. That's fine. Go ahead.
Are you done with articulating your main thought?
Oh no, I still got some more.
No, it's a basic question. So what you're saying is that the numbers in this budget right now are, the estimated revenue is higher than last year.
The overall, I didn't go through and add up all 325.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm saying you take
out of the sampling of 27 budget lines.
It's $1.7 million higher than those exact same 27 budget lines last year.
For 2025,
Correct.
2026.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? It's I did a different chart on that, and the way I did it was, and I know inflation's high and costs go up. I don't think it's even ridiculous to say, why don't we go 25% higher than what we brought in last year? So I ran that chart, as well. It still leaves us short $1.1 million, and that's giving them 25% more than we actually collected last year. I didn't even think that was conservative, but I went with that number because I know the cost of everything is very expensive. I still think that's high, but even doing that just on these, that come up, my new recommendation for those 27, 28 came out to $2.6 million, and we still have to make up, this other money as well, $1.1 million. So that's, something that I think we should take a look at again before this budget gets passed through, because there's not any money to make up the shortfall next year. Do we come in and tell 25 people you don't have a job again because we missed revenue? I believe, and I remember sitting here last year when Mary Beth gave her budget presentation right before the vote, and almost to the exact word, she had said, the only way this budget is going to work is if we hit on all our revenues. And I mean, the budget was the budget. We missed by millions of dollars. I mean, the facts are the facts. It's you can't go back to last year and say this. You can't go back to things that were done 5 years ago. I'm going to leave it at that. The numbers are sitting in front of me if anybody wants to look at them or discuss them. I just think it's something that needs to be looked at. The problem you're going to run into with that is now where do you make up this extra money? You're not talking $200,000-$300,000. You're talking, well over $1 million. Once again, I get into the line item budgets for every department in the entire city, and same thing. I mean, some of these were just, I'll call it unreasonable in my own words, I guess. I'm not going to say I know exactly what every single department head needs, this or that, but I did the same thing. I went through, I just picked out 75 of them, 75 out of 1,500. Didn't touch any utilities, didn't touch any fuel, didn't touch any maintenance, didn't touch any employees, didn't touch any contractual benefits, anything like that. I left that all out because obviously we can't control that. But when it comes down to it, once again, the numbers are the numbers. I went through and I started seeing how much we added over the top of what they used last year. And that's, I'm going to keep saying this because that's the numbers. You gave me the printout, said this is how much they spent in their budget last year, and then we're going thousands, some of them tens of $1,000s higher than what you spent. You didn't even spend what you were asked for the year before in last year's budget. For me, I've watched multiple departments. We've had to transfer money in the last couple months, and it always said that it didn't affect the budget. It was no new money coming out. That tells you everything you need to know there. That tells you that these line item budgets are padded because we're taking the money out of the same budget and transferring to use it for something else, which means they didn't need the money for that in the first place. That's where I'm going with this entire thing. Like I said, I picked out 75 of them here, and I'll make this brief because I know I've been going on, but I did the exact same thing. I went through the ones that I thought were, you know, several percent higher. I mean, I could give you the numbers. You don't want to hear how many percent higher they are because they're obscene, but I took every single one, what they used last year, and then I added another 20% on top of it, which I think is fair. I think it's more than fair, giving you 20% more than you used last year. And this is what I came up with, and this is going to lead into Councilor Cuddy, Councilor Overstreet Wilson, and Councilor Clarko's talking about the pool, talking about the crossing guards, etc. When I did this 75 out of, like I said, almost 1,500 line item budgets, I came up with, if we gave them 20% more than they used last year, we're going to add 20% in to what they used last year. I think it's fair. I think it's very fair. Right there out the gate, I just saved $1,019,000. That literally there, and not saying this is the route we're going to go, that eliminates the entire 8% tax increase this year, the entire thing, by giving them 20% more. Obviously, you're not going to give them what they used last year because everything goes up. I'm not saying that. I could take it another step if you want. If we give them 25% more, if you feel more generous and that's what you think we should do, and I'm sure there's going to be line items that people are going to say, well, this is because of this. Of course there is, this and that, but if we give them 25% more than we gave them last year, we're going to save $955,000, and we can take 7.6% off that 8% tax cap. You could literally wipe that tax cap out or raise it 0.5%. Once again, keep on going if you want. 30%, we can lower the taxes and raise them 1% and save $891,742. I went all the way up to 50, 75%. You know, top of the line, if you gave them 75% more than they spent last year, which you're never going to see me vote for that, even remotely. I wouldn't vote for anything over 25% at this point. There's no way I'm going to justify giving you 50, 75% more money than you had last year, watching it be shifted around to other items to pay for stuff, which means you didn't need it for that item spot in the first place. But even at 75%, we still save $318,480, and that could go one of two ways. You could lower the taxes down to 5.5%, or, as everybody stated today, go ahead and pay for your crossing guards. Go ahead and pay for, you know, the pool. It'll obviously help cover the 2 fireman jobs. This can be done, and it's just a matter of nobody wants to be the person. Unfortunately for me, I'm here to work, and I'm here to, you know, put the city first, and business is business, like I said, for me. But the numbers are the numbers, and we can dispute this all day long. I'll sit down with anybody and show them to them, but the facts are we can fund the stuff that everybody talked about tonight without even blinking. I'll go back to the top one. If we if we went 50% more on what we were giving the departments, we're still saving $637,000. I mean, I would prefer to bring it back below the tax cap a little bit, but if it means, you know, the pool, the crossing guards for the safety of the kids, you know, the 2 firemen that we're gonna obviously keep on because it's contractual and we don't need to be paying triple what we would be paying them on overtime, which is actually probably what would happen. The money's there. It's just a matter, and this is where I think, speaking on how the budget's going to be done next year, and I spoke specifically with Mary Beth about this, and I thought that's the way it was going to be this year. We were going to present the budget balanced and say, this is what you have. That eliminates all, quote unquote, all the nonsense. This is how much we have, this we have. We're adding things back in every day. We're taking things out. We got to save this. We got to do that. Oh, we got another $2 million, but that literally brings us to the fund balance policy that we have in place. Unless unless we're going to vote and get rid of the fund balance policy, I don't see us using that money for anything. There's the money right there that you need, and there's still going to be plenty of extra money there. I think it's, you know, it's on the department heads to help out as well. We're not even talking about cutting people. We're talking about adding services back in. When it's all said and done, whatever way it goes, it is what it is at this point. I'm going to stay on the record as, like I said, but I can't support a budget that I can find millions of dollars in overages, and I've been sitting here 5 months. So, you know, like I said, take it for what it's worth. Anybody wants to speak on it, but it's important to know that that's actually what's going on. I mean, it's in writing. It's on the budget today. It's on the line. If you wanted to print it out, you could do it yourself. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thanks for the time, Mayor.
You're welcome, Councilor. Thank you. Councilor Cuddy.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Diego. I do think you've raised some compelling points. First off, you know, going through the whole budget line by line, I think is, you know, very thorough and a good thing to do. Having said that, you've sampled 27 lines out of the 300, and some of the lines you've noted are like 149% higher. And you understand if something was like 20% or 25% higher, that seems like if it was more in that line of revenue, that seems like it would be less of a red flag or something you would be concerned about. But having said that, I would think it would be valuable to just sample some of the ones that do have those higher budget lines and share them with the council and with the comptroller, just so that staff could like at least justify why something would go up 149%. Because I do think that, you know, I get what your concern is. That's revenue. When it comes to the expenditures, 75 out of 5,000. Again, same thing. If there are ones that like are really have increased to the level of like 150% or 200, if there's ones that are like that, please share them with us. And I'm not saying like every single one, but it is important to know why certain things are like 200%, 150%. You know, like because that is there may be a valid reason. I do think staff should be able to communicate that. If not, then, you know, obviously, you know, maybe a deeper dive needs to happen. But I do think some of the things that you've mentioned should be able to be responded to by staff. That's and like knowing which budget line, just so that, and I'm not saying the whole thing, but just not all 27 revenue or not all 75 ones, but like the ones that are like 149 or higher than 50%. Because that way, at least it's like, oh, there may be a reason for it. That's all I'm at.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I'll say it again. Nobody here, and speak freely. Like I said, everybody, we all have our own thoughts. Nobody thinks that giving the departments 20, 25, 30, 50% more than they spent last year is absurd. I mean, in some of them, I mean, you can, you know, I'm not doing it again, but if you want to look back and see what they spent last year, how much they requested, and you didn't even meet what you requested last year, but you're asking for $20, $30, $50,000 more this year, not a chance, Terry. I mean, it is what it is. I understand what you're saying, but this is very, very simple for me. If I, you know, whatever number you want, you tell me the number just for these 75, whatever you guys want to agree with or don't agree with, that's fine as well. But the fact of the matter is like, even if we gave 50% back just on these ones, 50% more than they spent last year, you're still saving $637,000. That just covers everything everybody up here talked about, including myself, without even cutting anything. You're just going to cut back. You're giving them 50% more than you gave them already. That's inflation ain't that high, I can tell you that.
No, I
man.
know. I
mean,
know
come
that.
on, man. I'm not going to go and pick apart and say, hey, this one went up 150, this one went up 177%. You know, I had to actually address that one, and it's based on how much rain we're going to get this year. You kidding me right now?
True. That is true.
Yeah, it is true.
I know what you're talking about, and that is
100%. But what if it's like last summer? You can't just assume.
How much is that more? How much is the generator more?
On that one, 177.7% more than we brought in last year. Literally $307,000 more. I mean, unless somebody's a meteorologist and they want to tell me it's going to rain every day all summer and we're going to make $1 million,
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. Come
I
on.
think that's fair to, like, you know, if that's the case, I do
I mean,
think that we should be a little more conservative than that.
100%.
So that's a great example. So Councilor Diego, I really do feel that I think we get more out of this if this you give, you know, like, as I said, an example of 10 lines where you think it's, you said 177%, 148%. I think that is fair to try to like have staff, you know, but that's one, I think, just a sampling, just so that we're all on the same page. That way we can really, you know, get a good sense. Because
So you want me to make sure I'm understanding you correctly, though?
Something
that's 100, 150%?
Yeah, just
so
ones that
so
seem
the
to be,
so
well,
the
I mean, I mean, you could do it now if you want, but
what I'm saying is
there's
there's 15 of them on here that are over 80%, Terry. That's the point I'm making. I could give you the one that's 149%, the one that's 163%, the one that's 178%, the one that's 155%. But what about the 10 on here that are 80, 81, 86? That's a lot of money, man. That's the point I'm making.
Let's start with the big ones, because obviously, if it's, I think the staff should be able to discuss why they have those projections. I think it's fair. I think it's fair for them to know the specific lines and for them to be able to talk about it. Because right now we're just given numbers, and if you sample them and let staff come back to us, I think it would help the conversation more. That's my perspective.
Or we can just all go ahead and go through the line item budget and pick out 20 and send them to the department heads and have them answer to you as well. I mean, I'm being serious. I mean, this is an extreme amount of work, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. And you know what? I'll sit down. If you want me to sit down, I'll sit down with every department head and go through every single one of these again immediately. What I will do now is I'm going to put a motion on the floor to change to request that the budget vote gets pushed back till June 11th then, because there's no way I'm going to do this in the next 5 or 6 days on their schedule and mine.
My thought is, I think it would be valuable if we did the sampling, but Councilor Diego, I'll meet with you, and that way I can see which budget lines you're talking about, and I'll ask staff myself, you know, why that is. But,
right. Well, them telling you and then telling me are two different
it's
things.
important to to have the staff be able to discuss the reason for those kinds of increases, and there may be a reason for it. You know, again, we don't know about the precipitation for the generator, but if it is a high year, but you're right, we can't budget for what we don't know.
Just those two that you're speaking of for the, the hydroelectric there, you're $500,000 over just for those two.
It's important to see it, those
The numbers are right-
percentages and lines.
They're right there. They're right on the budget sheet. They printed it out for us. It's right there in there. I mean, I'll highlight it and hand it to them. I'm gonna make a motion on the floor that we push back the vote on the budget till the 11th. I know that the comptroller and the treasurer said they need them by about the 15th, 16th, so they can get the bills and readjust them. But if that's what you want, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna motion that we push back the vote on the budget until the 11th so that I can meet with every department head again and have them justify the costs.
There is a motion on the floor to postpone the vote on the city budget from next Thursday until June 11th. Is that the request? There's a motion by Councilor Diego. Is there a second?
I have a question of clarification. I would like to comment on what he proposed. Do I comment first, or do we vote on the proposal that's on the floor, the motion that's on the floor?
So there's a motion on the floor.
And you can discuss the motion. You can discuss it after the motion.
So I need a second, and then we can discuss. So is there a second?
I'll second it because I think people should be able to have their opportunity. So I'll second
There's a
it.
second. There's discussion.
My discussion is definitely connected to or relates to what you have demonstrated in your proposal. So just so that I'm clear, and I want to thank you for explaining the way you did, because it helps me wrap my head around how things are budgeted out in terms of how things are projected as well. So if department heads are projecting that something is going to be higher, are you saying that there are times when what they've projected in the past they haven't used? And this year, they're projecting to even add more on top of what they possibly didn't use last year. So it's increasing the cost even more.
100%. It's right in the
Okay.
file.
So the other thing that I want to point out too is you first said that business is business, relationships are relationships, and we do work for the community members. And I just want to say to you, I agree. My thoughts are in line with, if you are a department head, you have X amount of money, you make it work, or you're not the department head, because business is business. Everybody here lives on a budget. We all live on a budget. And if I can't get a cup of coffee tomorrow because there's no money, then I have to rethink the way in which I'm budgeting. Now, I'm saying that as a macro statement, but what I'm specifically speaking about is leadership is not the position to be in where you want to be liked. It is about making hard decisions. And if we are allowing budgets to be padded, because that word was used, at increments of 30, 40, 50%, that is something that we should talk about. The other thing is, if a line item doesn't use all of the money, that you're also saying that we take that money at times and then we put it into other line items.
We've done it since I've sat here. We've had to adjust for overtime and other things, and it says right on the bottom of the presentation that it didn't affect the fund balance, at no change to the budget. And I asked on the record, well, that means the money just came out of their budget from a different line item, and the response was yes. That means that you didn't need that money in that other line item, or you had extra money in that line item, as far as I'm concerned. If you can come up with 10, 15, 50,000, whatever the number may be in your budget, where'd that money come from? That means that it's sitting there and you used it for something else. You didn't use it for whatever, call it supplies. You had 5,000 for supplies and you used 500. Hey, we need 4,000 to cover this. We'll just take it from this line and use that money, because you didn't use it in the first place anyways. I'm not talking about taking any money away from anybody. I'm saying give them a percentage higher than what they use. I've heard in the city many times that if you didn't use it, the city would try to take it away from them in the budget the following year. I'm not proponent of that at all. Just like I said, 20%, 50%, whatever you want to give them, I'm not going to take a penny back from what they used. I'm going to give them even more money, and that's the issue I have. If I can do these numbers and save $1 million by giving them 20 or 25% more than they used last year, I don't see what the issue is, and I'm not really sure why this is, you know, I'm not trying to be smart guy by any means. It's not hard to comprehend that I'm giving you more money. I'm giving you more money than you already spent this year. You spent $50,000. I'm going to give you $60,000 because I'm going to give you another 10% or 20% for next year. Very, very simple for me. The numbers are the numbers, and that's the way I look at it. If you're not spending it, I'm not going to say, well, you spent $40,000 this year. I'm only going to give you, you know, but you asked for 50, I'm only going to give you 30 next year. I'm not doing that. I'm taking your exact number, how much you spent this year, and then I'm giving you 20, 25, 30, 50, 75, whatever you want. In a perfect world, we would take this savings and we would offset the $1 million that I think we're over on the revenue, and we'd be in the exact same boat. Then we'd have to talk about, you know, funding the other things. That's the way I think it should be done. I know that's not going to happen, but I'm going to keep talking about it because the numbers don't lie.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Discussion.
What's that?
We're still on the motion.
Yes. So, no more discussion on the motion?
I would just like to be clear that if we were to table this, I would not be comfortable going anything further past June 11th, but I also know that that's a work session, so I don't know if that becomes problematic or to be able to vote.
No, it doesn't. That's fine. All right. No further discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
For the motion from June 4th till June 11th, Councilor Diego?
Yes.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson?
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy?
Yes.
Councilor Clarko?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Yeah, just a quick question, Counselor. The numbers that you were using for actual expenditures were on the report that we posted for today. Is that correct?
It's the one that you put in that said it would be used for the meeting today, 5/22.
Okay, great. So I just want to clarify. So those actual numbers are through, do not include May and June of this current fiscal year.
But it says right on there, posted as of 5/22, and when I asked Mary Beth, she said that was the numbers as of that exact day.
Okay. So as of 5/22, so we've still got the rest of May and June for expenditures.
Okay, so, and I'll just spin back on exactly what you're saying. So now, hypothetically, what happens if every department head just decides to go out and spend all this extra money, so they spent, you know, what they were asking for last year? Where does that leave us? I understand 200% what you're saying, city manager. I do, but there's no one that's going to convince me at this point that all of a sudden now in the last 4 or 5 weeks we're just going to spend $1.2, $1.7 million, whatever the number is. I mean, if we do, then we got a bigger problem. That means they're just spending all the money right at the end of the budget year so that they can say this is how we're justifying how much we need next year.
I just wanted to clarify the number that you were looking at. So thank you for clarifying. Appreciate it.
So just to be clear, so we'll be voting on the budget in 2 weeks, right? And going above the tax cap remains next week. Okay. While staff responds to concerns of the council, so I do believe a sampling of revenue and expenditures of concern should be able to be explained by staff so that the council is more comfortable voting for this budget. We'll do that next week. Is that correct? Yes.
Sure. Yeah, we would love to look at any line items that any member of council would like us to look at.
Okay, and then with that, just want to reiterate, I'm totally committed to the items that I had mentioned earlier for consideration, just so that those don't get lost in the shuffle. And you know what those are, correct?
Yep.
And any thoughts of my colleagues on crossing guards, pool, and what else did I say? Crossing guards and pool were the big ones. Oh, and summer programming.
Yeah, I got a thought on it. Let's rein in the line items like we're supposed to, and it'll be covered, and you won't even have to worry about it. It's very simple.
Well, I want to make sure that the council supports those things. But we can wait. I just want to, we can wait until next week, but.
Any further discussion from the council? We have a request for executive session.
Yes, Mayor. I have one item related to the financial history of a particular corporation, one item matter leading to the employment of a particular corporation, one matter of potential litigation, one matter related to collective negotiations, and one matter related to the sale or lease of real property.
We have a motion for executive session. Councilor.
Oh, I want to add one for employment history of an individual.
We have a motion for executive session. Councilor Clarko, seconded. Anybody want a second?
Oh, I will.
Councilor Cuddy, please call the roll.
Motion for executive session 7:02 p.m. Councilor Diego?
Yes.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson?
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy?
Yes.
Councilor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Jensen?
Aye, we'll be in recess for executive session.